Welcome back to Teakwood Tavern. Tonight we're going to be experimenting with the Martini.
As we said in an earlier post, the Martini is the king of cocktails, and while it does definitely deserve that place at the pinnacle of cocktails, for whatever reason, you know, it's one of those drinks that people just kind of go along with it in the sense of there's not really a lot of experimentation done by most consumers. You just kind of order a martini and you just drink whatever is given to you. And we really feel that it's fun to kind of expand on the different variations of a martini because it is a very forgiving drink. I remember when I first started bartending and waiting tables, you pretty much got the very dry martini, which is, as you'll see later on, we're gonna make one, is just a small amount of vermouth compared to the gin or vodka that you're drinking along with it. We really love our vermouth, and so it's fun to kind of experiment and see how vermouth changes it based on how much vermouth you're using. That's a long way to really go around and say that we're going through this experiment because of something that we read about in this wonderful book. This is Death & Company's Cocktail Codex, and they recommend that martini drinkers go through this experiment and play around with the different variations of this drink and see which one really works best for you. And so we're gonna put this out here for you guys and hope that you want to follow along with this and see which style of martini you really enjoy most. And you might be surprised that you like it drier or wetter than what you've always ordered. And that way it'll also give you the confidence to walk into a bar and say, I want it, 2 parts gin, 1 part vermouth, because you know that's what you like to do. So tonight we're gonna be using Dolan Dry Vermouth. Please, when you're doing this experiment, open a brand new bottle of vermouth. It helps out in so many different ways. And then we're using Monkey 47, which is just an outstanding gin, because if we're gonna have martinis, as well have damn good gin. So
the ratios we're going to be looking at not only are in the Cocktail Codex, but we actually have this book, courtesy of my grandparents, Mr. Boston, Deluxe Official Bartender's Guide, first published in 1935, has very similar ratios. So though in today's bars, I feel like the dry has really taken over. The spectrum has been there for quite some time. So for the dry, we're going to look at a 1:9 ratio of gin to vermouth. For kind of a traditional or root style, we're going to go to a 2:1 ratio of gin to vermouth. And then finally for our wet, we're going to do an equal parts 1:1 ratio.
So for efficiency purposes, we've already poured out the gin and vermouth. So here we have our wet, traditional, and then dry. Let's go ahead and oops. Slippery
So we'll
little
get a
stuff.
little. Price gonna fall.
So really with the ice, you just want to make sure that it's all covered. You don't need to fill it all the way up to the top if there's not enough liquid in there, but it's good. Jen's gonna take over the dry. I'm gonna use these two. You can see I need to work on my left hand a little bit more. But much smoother with my right. Really, I mean, you could just move it around. It's just a back and forth motion. Your middle finger. And the longer you let it sit there, the more diluted it'll get. If you also want to experiment with timing and dilution, give a drink a real quick stir and taste it, and it'll have little to no dilution compared to, the 20 or so seconds that we were doing, which will give you, a good diluted drink, which is a lot smoother and what you really should have in your traditionally stirred cocktails. All right, so we're not putting any type of garnish on this because we really want to drink these with nothing else but just the vermouth and the gin. And when we make our traditional martini at home, which those of you who have our book know that we do a 2-to-1 ratio on gin to vermouth, and then we always add a dash or two of orange bitters. That's how we drink it. However, for this purpose of the experiment, we're gonna sans any bitters or anything else just to make sure that you're really focusing on just the 2 ingredients that we have here. So with that, we're gonna go sit down at our bar and we're gonna take a sip. We'll let you know what we think.
Cheers.
Cheers.